This is Ready Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready Set Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than a host. So I'm Tracy Seawright, and this is Ready Set Reiki. Hello, Reiki family. Welcome to Ready Set Reiki, and many Reiki blessings to you all. So another journey I am blessed to guide you through, and what an amazing and beautiful guest that I have today. So let me tell you just a little bit about her. Now, her name is Alisa. Gracheva. Beautiful. But she says it so beautifully. I don't do it justice. She is deeply passionate about trauma work and is dedicated to integrating both traditional and alternative healing approaches to support deep and lasting transformation. And expertise in methods such as EMDR, CBT, logotherapy, and spiritual guidance, as well as ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, also known as KAP. Now, in addition to this, she specializes in trauma, KAP, grief and loss, life transformation, and spiritual growth. So let's give a warm Ready Set Reiki to Alisa. Welcome to Ready Set Reiki.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this moment. So thank you for having me.
Beautiful. And thank you for joining me on this journey. So let's get started. Now, I only told our listeners just a little bit about you, but there is way, way more about you, all the amazing things that you do. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I don't know if I can talk a lot about me as far as what I do. I think the main point is that I love to be there for people struggling, who are going through a lot of things in their life, trauma, maybe any other life transitions or changes they're going through that they're struggling to navigate. And it's an honor for me to provide the space where they're able to transform themselves. So I think the major point is that my passion for this mission, for service to people, and anybody who is coming to look for different tools, practices, especially when I'm able to guide them a little bit more into the spiritual realm, because I think for trauma work, it's a very important aspect as well and the part of the healing. So I think this is the most important thing about me.
Beautiful. And we need it more than ever. Our world that we are navigating through, oh my goodness, finding more and more. And I'm sure you have seen it too, specifically in the last 5 years, right? Since COVID, just the trauma that's out there. And what I love seeing is that people are finally getting to that point that they are open to these healing modalities, something else in addition, as a beautiful supplement to what they're, going forward with their primary caregiver. So it's wonderful. So modality of service, why we're here today, about Reiki. When did Reiki come into your life? Did Reiki find you, or did you find Reiki?
I think it was back in 2018, if I'm getting it right now, because my mind is a little bit, it was a lot of things going on, like everybody, right? For the last 5 years, as you said, it was a lot of changes. I think they started even before that. And also I see a perfection in all of these things that are happening with us in this world, because we need the difficulty in order to find the truth, find our mission, find the reinvent ourselves, even if we're not yet sure where we're going in life. And so I think all of these parts of life that we've had to struggle with through COVID and even before then was all meant to be. And so for me, the journey with Reiki began before, when I went on my spiritual journey, and it started with the ayahuasca. That was one of the medicines that led me to experience the other side in a more vivid way. Because before that, yes, was I spiritual? Of course. I think we all are spiritual. There's no other way of seeing every single human. Sometimes we get lost in human life and we forget our path. And sometimes we need to go through a lot of trials and tribulations in order to find, the next right step. And so Reiki was a very powerful moment in my life when I began to see the world and energy in a different way, and incorporating Reiki in my, back in the day, I wasn't yet a therapist when I started that journey. So bringing that as another modality to heal myself first, and then incorporating that into what I do now as a therapist, as a clinical worker. I bring that into the space to hold space better for people when they're there, to also protect myself in certain ways, because dealing with trauma can be a lot energetically. And so Reiki became a big part of my life as well, and energy in general. And bringing that to people, allowing the healing also to incorporate that when I do work outside of my sessions, but I also bring my clients into the space where I do prayers for them and energy work. And that's something that's been a beautiful tool for me to use and to find different way of navigating my clients' troubles as well.
Beautiful. And I love how you put it as you worked on yourself, needing to be grounded so that you're the best version that you can be to help support and be there for others. And Reiki is one of those tools that can really help with that self-healing, taking care of what you need to get taken care of, deal with the triggers. And then the interesting thing with the time too, I don't know about you, but right after 2019, I feel like, time has either flown by or it's gone so slow that when people ask, like, when did this happen? I have to pause and really think about it. So I really think there was something in the matrix that gets us to stop, like, wait, what? It's been 5 years, but wait, it feels like 5 minutes.
I know. Yeah, so true. Mm-hmm.
So as you have these beautiful modalities that you work with, you're working with the an energy healer, worker, Reiki. What are some of the misconceptions that you find that people think about Reiki or even the work that you do with energy?
Well, not everybody believes in that per se, and not in the form of they're questioning what modality is. I'm not a person who will be going around convincing people. I think there is the right time for that. It's not something that can be enforced because everybody has a different way in their spiritual journey. I think it's a part of the spiritual evolution for us to understand who we truly are. And energy in itself, we are made of energy. And it's weird for us to even question that because we believe in electricity per se, but some people don't believe in energy. That's funny to me because you can't see electricity either, but we have the result of it, and the result of energy is you making statements, talking, experiencing life, having emotions. All of that is energy in motion, right? And we forget that we are that energy. So one of the misconceptions is that people don't know how to, if they don't see, they don't believe it. And that's funny to me because, again, we just have to expand our consciousness a little bit and see other examples in life that are right there for us to explore and experience. That's one thing. That it's not making big progress, right? Or people expect something if they go for one Reiki session and they expect things to be, they're healed. It doesn't work like that either. I mean, it can in certain instances. I'm sure there are a lot of examples of those miracles that happen.
Yes.
But it sometimes takes time, and we have to understand that it's a practice, like you've said, right? It's a journey, not a destination. It's something that when we practice, the more we practice, the more aware we become of its essence and how it's experienced and how we can practice to make it stronger. And when we notice that we don't have enough energy too, because I have those days when I'm sitting by myself and I'm tuning in and I'm receiving energy and I'm practicing Reiki, and I understand that I'm really depleted, but I didn't have that feeling before. So that becomes, it's kind of growing and expanding awareness as well of ourselves through that energy work.
Right.
And I don't know, what did you find as a misconception, if you can share?
The misconception, the big one, I grew up in a home that was very Bible based. So that it was like, it's Buddhist, it's this, it's Japanese, it's not of God. So that tends to be it. I'll be at different markets or events and someone will come over and they're like, oh, I don't do that. So just the word, and even with yoga as well, the word tends to bring these emotions out in people. And when you kind of stop and investigate and go a little deeper and learn about it, it's not that at all. So it's that the misconception that there is a dogma or a religion attached to it, and that's not what it is.
Yeah, makes sense for sure.
That's what I have found. So you are an EMDR trained, somatic therapy trained, licensed mental health counselor. You are helping and being of service to your clients. But as you've gone through your journey, what has been the biggest challenge you have faced in your own life?
I have to say, probably finding, we're going to call it God for me, right? Because I feel like we often find ourselves when we're working through struggles and traumas, and I have plenty of that in my past per se, and we're going to experience that as we continue on our journey as a human, we're going to have a lot of those moments. I would say fortunately, because we grow through trauma, but finding that we're not alone through it, and whether we have support system or it feels like we're isolated. Because I was an immigrant, I moved to the United States when I was 18 years old. I didn't have no family with me, so you can imagine the journey was hard. And it's been now 17 years since I'm here in the United States as well. And feeling alone was a big part of my life, and even before I came here. So the journey of finding that I was actually never alone, but overcoming that through a lot of pain and despair and frustration and exhaustion. And then finding that all of that suffering was technically unnecessary, but practically I needed to go through that in order to get to the next destination. So I would say searching for solutions for that, searching for ways to heal ourselves, that was a journey for me. And it took many, many years. Again, I've been a victim. I've been a warrior. I've been a victor, right? We have all of these different parts of ourselves. And I think all of them are equally important, even the victim state. And I've been there for years myself in the past. And I can say that it was absolutely necessary for me to get to the next point. But that was not a sentence. It was freedom that actually served me in the future.
Yeah. It's just kind of interesting as we go through this life, we go through this journey, and we've had these challenges and setbacks and sometimes devastating things that you really question. Is there a God when this darkness happens? And I recall watching, and I hope I'm saying his name right, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is an astrophysicist, so brilliant, and he talked about different points in our history where bombs went off, and he talked of the story about how people had sought refuge in a church, and the church crumbled to the ground, and where was God there? So that seems to be a question that people reach out to, especially when we have all this kind of things happen in life, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a journey for everybody, and there will be different ways for us to experience that. I really love this analogy when they say, we can get wet from the word water, right? It has many different names. Aqua, Wasser, Vada. We can call it so many different names, but we don't get wet from the word. So it doesn't matter what we call it, life force, chi, God, Reiki, right? There's that energy, that consciousness, that intelligence that creates planets, that created me and you, that creates every single thing we see with our eyes. And so understanding that the words don't do it justice, and words are very limiting. That's why the more we practice, not the knowledge, but the knowing, I think there's a big difference in that. That can give us the clues to proceed on our own journey. Because yes, sometimes we can get a great teacher on our path, but if I'm not ready, I'm not going to get the lesson right anyway. I'm not going to learn it. I'm not going to experience it in the right way. So every path that we have is perfect in its way, but we have to remember that it's still leading us somewhere. So letting go of the past, continue on the path of trying new things and experiencing new things. I think that experience brings new energy. I love the quote of Albert Einstein: we can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it.
Yes.
So we need to get a new mind. So we have to explore and experience, not feel. One of the things that I hear a lot is people say, I've tried it all, nothing helps. If you would have tried it all, you would have been in the next step of your development, but something's preventing you. So what is it? Let's explore it together.
Yeah. And it may not even be, well, I tried it all, but what were you consistent in? It's what you go back to, what you said about Reiki. If you've had trauma from when you're 5, 6, 7 years old, and you're coming in as a 40-year-old, it may take a little bit more than one session. It's cumulative. So it's consistency there. That's the key. Even, when you, for yoga, like, okay, many misconceptions about that is I'm not flexible, right? Well, you got to get to the mat. You have to, go inward, and it really helps with the ego. It's the yoking, the union, the wholeness, the oneness, the body, mind, and spirit. So whatever that is, whether it's exercising, if it's journaling, if it's going out in nature, stick to something for a little while. I mean, we want instant gratification, but it could have taken decades for this trauma just to sit there and stick to you, and you got to kind of gently break it down and break it apart through time. So that's another thing too. Like, I'm doing it all, but what are you sticking with? Give it a try. See how it feels, experience it. And the thing with Reiki, it's so hard to describe. It's like if we went together and I'm like, oh, we got to go to this pizza place. It's amazing. You have to eat this a piece of pizza. And you're like, well, what does it taste like? Well, it's hard to describe it unless you go and you taste it, right?
I love it.
Taste it.
Absolutely.
You have to experience it because you can have it's so personal, and designed for you. So you have to go and have that own experience and be consistent with it. So,
Yeah.
as you learn Reiki, what are some qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner or the qualities that you saw in your Reiki teacher?
Gentleness, allowance, the deep feminine principles, I would
Mm.
say, because force would not be a good option, or having an expectation that I'm going to heal you. We have to get out of the way, allowing the Reiki to do its work, right? Of course, we're conduits, where I love how you said you're a guide, right? All of these parts are absolutely essential, but our people, the clients, will be predicting the destination. They will be dictating that moving forward. And the more
Mhm.
open we are as well, I think open is going to any experience first. Because if you have the mind that said, okay, I know it's not going to work, but let me give it a try, you're going to waste your time with that. Even if there will be certain things that will be shifting, you may not notice because your mind will be blocking that from your experience. So I think keeping an open mind, not only for the person receiving that, for the practitioners as well, and allowing that softness and presence, the essence itself, right? Just being there, holding that space. I think that can be one of the most transformational things for us and for the clients as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just, I call myself a guy because I don't know anything, anything, right? I mean, because it's just, learn from everyone that you connect with. I kind of look at it like how you go out and you're driving. Every time you drive, it's a different experience, right? You'll encounter different things. And even those who have been doing Reiki for decades, just this past April, they released information about Azui Sensei's resume. So we got to see in his own handwriting what he's done since age 23, all the way up until he connected to the energy. And so those who have been in this field since the 90s or the 80s, this is new information that now we're piecing the puzzle together. So stay relevant, stay current, have that attitude of being humble, right? I'm going to be humble because I don't know everything, and you're going to learn things, and you're going to connect with a client. And you're like, whoa, this is different. This is different experience. And so, yeah, with that mindset of just being gentle, being open, right? Being humble. These are some really great qualities. I even had a client had asked me, she said, when we finished the session, well, what do you recommend? What do you recommend? How many times should I come see you? And I said, I'm leaving that really up to you. Like, this is your body. You need to listen to yourself. And she was really surprised. I says, I'm not this type of practitioner that's going to have you come like weekly or monthly. It's really up to you, on that journey. So what advice would you give someone who is just entering this profession?
Profession of Reiki work or therapy? So entering profession, first of all, we have to learn from that experience ourselves. There's so much wisdom and sitting with ourselves, sitting with Reiki, that takes me every single night. I'm on my knees. I do my devotional, I do my energy work. And if I'm able to really be present with that, because we all have different days, right, that we go through different struggles and things of that nature. But if we're present, we're really in tune and aligned with that energy, with our higher self, we'll be able to receive a lot of messages. I call it mystery school. I know it sounds weird, but or cliche, but it's really a lot of insights, a lot of realizations that come through that path. And it's fascinating to me. I don't have enough imagination to come up with what I'm going to receive. And sometimes when I get some insight, and again, I'm not sharing a lot of it with people unless I'm being called to share certain experiences or things or insights. But I know they're for me, for my own development. So starting point is to really get to know yourself, your higher self, your practice, how you experience that before we're serving someone else. Because if things will begin to come up during the session, how you begin to be in tune with someone else's trauma and maybe some energies that you may even take on yourself. We have to be very attuned to what's happening. And that comes from spending a lot of time knowing our energy, our space, how to protect ourselves, and how to hold the center. So I would say, for me, it's never ending learning process and learning experience. And every time I'm like, okay, I think I've gotten to the next step and I'm good. And then something else comes. I'm like, oh my God, All right, learning, continuous learning. So
Isn't
just
that
always
something?
being, oh my God, continuously being the student of this practice. I think rather than saying, I've got it, I'm a master, and this
Mhm.
and that. I'm like, I can't even say that about myself when people talk, and I have that level. That's not, I'm an energy worker, I'm a trauma specialist, because for me, this is something that more encompassing rather than giving the title to myself. So I think
Right.
always remaining the student and just spending a lot of time with oneself before we even serve others. I think that's
Yeah.
the most important aspect.
Yeah. And I think, as going and being pulled towards being an energy worker, that energy sure does humble you. So you go along your path, your things are flowing in. And like just recently, this was in September, like I ended up getting COVID for the first time. And then I got a sinus infection. Then I got a bronchitis. And it was like, okay, I get it. I get it. I'll scale back my schedule. Right. So all those
Mhm.
things happened, and it's just a reason. Okay, there's a reason I'm supposed to take a little pause, a little hiatus. I get it. So I think it's more intense as we're, on this path of healing and healing ourselves and healing others. And but the universe is like, nope, you need to rest. And I knew that in the beginning. I knew like in like March and May, and it was a whisper. And the universe, like, you're not listening. And I just couldn't because I had so many commitments. And then finally, it was screaming, there, we're going to bring you down. So it's just interesting. My way the universe gets me down is by getting sick. And I have a friend, she's like, wow, just like you get sick, the money stops for her. So money gets her attention, right? As we charge through
Mhm.
life. So it's just amazing how, if you allow it, the energy will help guide you to exactly what you need.
I love that. Absolutely. I think it's also important to listen to that and to see it in the right way rather
Mhm.
than thinking it's a punishment. Because I think
Yeah.
we're very prone as humans to see that we've
Mhm.
been punished for something. It's like,
Yeah. I like to
no,
think it's a lesson. Yeah. A lesson. So
absolutely.
that's what I mean. If you can reframe things in a teachable moment, what is this teaching me? And I always, I think even the last 5 years, instead of looking at it as the victim or why me, it's the idea of what am I going to learn from this? Let me learn the lesson so this doesn't happen again. Because you see, when you look back in that journey of life, you have some patterns. Why do I keep
Mhm.
getting attracted to this person? Why am I getting myself into this mess? So I'm like, no, 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 I'm going to learn this.
Preferably from the first time, right?
Exactly. Please, please, with ease and grace. So I always like to throw ease and grace in there. Ease and grace.
I love
So,
it.
what books do you recommend?
What books?
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, books. Well, anything on spirituality that you want to experience. There's so many books. My one of the greatest teachers that I follow a lot, who passed on already, is Dyer, and his
Mm,
book "Spiritual Solution to Every Problem." Um, I love Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Becoming Supernatural. The more we learn, and even for those people who are more cerebral, the meditation has now science underneath it that also explains spirituality in a very different way, right? Through energy, through our brain structure, what meditation does to it as well. So we have to just follow through and explore and experience many different books. I think it's an exploration for different people. I really love the book Anita Moorjani, Dying to Be Me. I think it's an excellent resource, powerful. Every time I listen to her, to this book, it's my second time I'm going through it. I just start crying every time because you feel that there's truth to it. Again, it's medical in nature. It's her story when she passed on and she came back. She had that near death experience and she was not supposed to be alive anymore based on her medical history. And so that's a powerful reminder to us to pay attention to those things because miracles are everywhere and books sometimes can bring that. So, but it's an exploration. Again, some people may like it, some people may prefer to explore more of different type of topics. There's no right way about books. I think we have to be called to read the next right thing for ourselves, but those are the authors I love and listen to a lot.
beautiful. So, what other modalities do you offer? Do you offer classes, trainings, events?
Right now, I'm actually working on a trauma course, so that's going to be out there soon. modalities as far as working with people. Again, we went through some of them already. I have a book that's out now. It's actually was published last, yes, I'm excited about that. Last month. It's called Walking with Spirit. And there is insights about mental health and how culture and people are shaping our lives as well. And then the sacred self and how to be okay with inevitable change and moving forth with the faith or improved understanding of that too. So I'm excited to be sharing the course soon as well. And it's going to be with the community too. So if people need extra support, they will definitely receive it there. So I hope I will reach more people with that.
Okay. So where can we find you? Online? Do you offer online, in person? How do we get in touch with you?
If you Google me, you should be able to be led to different profiles like Psychology Today. I'm on Alisa Gracheva. I have Instagram, Alisa_art, my website, www.since.life. And I offer consultations for free. So anybody wants to consult about trauma or just connect, sometimes we just need to connect with someone. I would love to be that source for them as well. So I'm open to receive anybody who wants to connect.
Beautiful. And where can we find your book?
Amazon, Walking with Spirit, The Sacred Path to Wholeness.
Perfect. All right. Well, that ends the first part of our journey. I'm going to guide you into the second part, which are questions sent in by Reiki students and listeners. So here we go. Number 1, what inspired you to work in trauma?
My own journey and the pain I went through, of course. I think all of us who are in this, we're going to say, field of, again, providing service for those who are struggling with something. Yes, going through and healing at my own pace without having much of the support led me to this deep desire to be of assistance to other people who don't have the same support, just like my story as well. And so I don't want people to be struggling the same way I did. I want to make sure that I can provide some insights that may be helpful for them on this journey. Professional, of course, I'm trained in that, but also just being a human and providing the spiritual perspective. Because I know in a clinical mental field, we have to be careful about spirituality, right? And it's all about exploring your own concept of that and understanding your own values, morals, your own higher self, right? It's just different perspective. So learning about that in my own time, I wanted to be of assistance is in the same way to others so that they can heal faster, of being, providing that space for them to transform themselves.
Beautiful. And thank you for working on yourself so that you can be of service to others. So thank you for that. Yeah. Number 2, why do you believe being grounded is so imperative for one's mental health?
Love this question. One of the most important things we have to understand, especially when we're talking about trauma or just life experiences, stress, right? And I'm going to go a little clinical here. We're going into sympathetic dominance anytime we experience stress. And unfortunately, right now, we're so conditioned. Every little thing on the outside tends to make us aggravated, frustrated, irritable, right? And a lot of people find themselves, even driving. I'm in Florida, right? Florida is known for driving problems. It took me a long time to be able to figure out my own frustration with drivers and driving. And it took me years, actually. Now I'm completely chill. I'm navigating, I'm meditating through that experience. That doesn't bother me anymore, but I also know how hard it is to process that. So when we go into that sympathetic dominance, it's almost like a lion is next to us about to eat us. When we have the sympathetic dominance, we're stressed out, we can't think clear at all. So our neocortical function goes down, and how rationally or creatively we look at the problems is just minimized and compromised. So if we learn to ground in meditation, why we get the new insights. Actually, yesterday during my own meditation and prayers and energy work, I began to finally get clear on the outline on my course. And I was like, why didn't I bring that into my space? Because I keep it separate. And then when I brought it into my space, when I was in that grounded and connected way, suddenly I began to receive different insights about it. So we need to go into this creative space, and that's only possible when we're grounded. So whatever tools we use, whether it's spiritual in nature, whether it's senses type of grounding, somatic work is something that I'm so passionate as well, is just being present with yourself, because we're not often in our bodies, really. We're all over there spiraling, and oftentimes it's triggered by the sources on the outside of ourselves, or our own mind that's being a little bit restless too. But yes, grounding is imperative for us if we want to be more creative in our approach, not reactive but responsive to situations that happen. And it's a skill, it's not a given. So just like you mentioned, consistency in everything we do. I cannot go to the gym once and then expect a killer body until the rest of the year, right? Or if I've driven once in my life, I'm not expected to be able to respond well if there's something going on the street the next time I drive. So it's just like any other skill, we have to work on it consistently. And grounding is a big skill to master, because that's creating the peace of mind that we so desperately need right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely skill in action. I think people don't realize the impact of these small little things during the day. So for instance, if you're at a shopping center and you're waiting on that parking spot and someone cuts in and takes that parking spot and that enrages you, there's a ripple effect. It's going to affect your whole day. And then you're grouchy, and then you're short with your family, and you're yelling at your spouse, and just miserable the whole day from that one little tiny moment in time. But to have the tools when you're like, oh, and then just to breathe. Just to, what can you do? Count, humming. There's so many different things that you can try to explore, and there's going to be things that aren't going to feel right for you. But okay, I'm just going to put my hands here. I'm going to breathe, especially like with grief, walking somewhere, something reminds me of someone who passed, and instead of this floodgate of like anger coming in, and breathe, and you feel it coming on. So it's great to have these tools to help you navigate. And it's so important to stay grounded. Somatics is so important. I love how yoga's, shifting to somatics, how the body's feeling, the body's keeping score. We're remembering this. So we need to get this out. I mean, you think of it from the moment we get up, we are inundated with information, things happening in the world. We see things in real time as they unfold and happen, right? Versus our great-great-grandparents that didn't know. They might take weeks to get that information, or they may not have known about a war for months and waiting on a letter or waiting for some type of communication. But you get into this doom scrolling, and it's like, oh, and then the worry, then that, and it just gets on you, and you don't realize how it sticks to you, right?
Absolutely.
So information and it's so tempting. At the palm of your hand, you have access to the world's knowledge, right? Anything that you can think of, you can find out in seconds. But it's like some of us go hours a day, 8 hours, 9 hours on phones and social media and all types of things. And we don't have time to breathe and be in nature and be bored, right?
I love it. Yes. So
To use
true.
your imagination, as a kid, I remember just laying in the grass and looking up at the clouds. And, how many times do you do that? A day, a week, a month, right? I mean, even think of how many times you maybe laugh. How long do you laugh? 15 minutes a day? And as kids, we laughed 200 to 300 times, right? A day.
Yeah.
And now as adults, we don't. So we lose a lot of that. So number 3, how can KAP, ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, help those who need deep healing?
Ketamine is a beautiful psychedelic. It's, again, we have that available now for people, which is absolutely beautiful. It helps to make your brain a little more flexible. So there's a lot of science behind it. When we're talking about a brain cell, in order to, let's say, learn a new skill or get a new habit in place, we all know how difficult change is for us as humans. But when it comes to the brain structure, in order for our brain to encode a new skill, to make new connection, to grow new neuroplasticity, it needs to be flexible enough and have enough of dendrites. But the dendrites, after we have stress or abuse or trauma, they diminish in its amount and the number of those dendrites. So the brain cells are not able to bind easily as if we didn't have any trauma per se. So ketamine allows to grow those dendrites, allowing the brain connect faster into new habits. But again, the main secret of that is working on establishing new habits, because sometimes people take, and that's not only with CAP, but with any other medications. Medications can be useful. I'm not against modern medicine. Sometimes we do need it in certain situations, but it's not a solution to the problem. It's helping you finding a solution in an easier way and to practice those new skills. And then it's a temporary patch. We're not drinking cold medicine when we don't have a cold. Right? We're not expected to be taking all of these meds when, again, if we're not doing the work that we need to do. So it's important to, if we're working through the ketamine, and I work for one company, but I also went through myself through the same treatment modality, and it was powerful in how it helps you restore and restart new habits as well. So if you go for a more deep kind of psychedelic trip with ketamine, which is again a powerful experience, it offers more of the spiritual insights. I've integrated a lot of people who went through the same treatment, and it's nearly as intense as ayahuasca can be. It's a little different in nature. Ayahuasca is more, it's more spiritual. There is much more connection with different entities per se, and yourself and the darker parts. Here is more physical, but yet you can also get spiritual realm into that trip as well. But yeah, naturally it helps the brain become more flexible. For instance, people with depression, certain brain regions are become a little more rigid. That's why it's very hard to see things in a different way. It's hard to really connect the dots with new routines. So ketamine can be of great assistance with depression, anxiety, and trauma as well. Addiction too, actually. Addiction is one of the treatment modalities for alcohol addiction, for instance. So it can be useful in the clinical field right now. It's not for everybody, just like there's no one single medicine for everybody, but it can be useful for those people who want to give it a shot and try. It may not be immediate, but it can also be in a faster rate of a treatment.
Beautiful. I live near a military post, and I live very close to the border. So a lot of, military veterans, border patrol, and I hear about this type of treatment. And a lot of them, they did all the modalities, they did all those things. And they're like, well, now let's try to do this. A lot of post-traumatic stress, a lot of trauma. And I've heard very positive things and it helping. So thank you for sharing that. So that is our last question. As we've been talking, is there anything else you'd like to share or tell the listeners? The floor is yours.
Thank you. One of the messages I always like to give to others is to get to know yourself, to really be more consistent with things that may potentially be useful. Again, consistency is the key to everything we do, really, and taking the time for that and trying new things for a longer period of time than just once. Because sometimes we say, well, I've tried meditation, it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. Just like if you decide to drive for the first time, you're not going to be able to do that successfully. We need to drive a lot in order to be able to be good drivers. Yeah. So taking the time for yourself, creating schedule and sticking to that routine, but looking at it comprehensively. So it's spiritual, mental, physical, energetic. All of this has to take place, and it has to be regular, just like we're going to work to receive benefits of money, right? We need financials in order to afford our life. And we do that relentlessly. We're going to go and we're always going to work, most of us, right? Going to work a lot of hours in order to make more. Well, if you would like to progress in your own journey, take the same type of system. We have to also dedicate a lot of time to that and consistency, but then check in with yourself after a month or 2 months, and probably you will see dramatic change that you will go through. So just stay consistent, treat yourself with compassion, but also with discipline, and allow the things to show up for you. Keep your mind open.
Yeah. And it might take years. I remember when I began getting heavily into different modalities, and I doubted myself too in the journey. Is this working? How do I know? And it was, I guess, about a good 2 years later, something happened. I had a student in the classroom that started choking. And the Tracy 5 years ago would have been like, but it was so calm. And I went to him and got him through that situation. And it was that realization, oh my goodness, this is working. That's where the healing is, through the calm. I'm not noticing like, wow, like I was doing yoga nidra for a while, and I still do it, but I was consistently twice a week listening to this. And my reaction to things, when someone cut me off in traffic, instead of me wanting to go and give them the finger, I just said, you know what, you have a great day. You must be in a hurry. So I gave him grace. Like, they must be in a hurry, instead of getting so angry and frustrating and things like that. And I'm like, wow, this really is working. I can feel it in me. So you may not know until everything hits you and you're like, oh, It's working. So keep going. It can take months. It can take years, for it to show. Well, thank you, Alisa, so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey. We were able to connect, be together, and share your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, my beautiful listeners, if you would like your question featured on Ready, Set, Reiki, reach out, www.readysetreiki.com, find me on social media, and check out Feather Sister Wellness. It offers yoga classes and Reiki sessions, so you can check me out on there. I'm doing Holy Fire and Money Reiki. So thank you, everyone. I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.